Do Canadian provinces have minimum wage differences? Why minimum wage is not one number in Canada? Minimum wage in Canada is not a single national figure. Each province and territory sets its own rate, and those rates change at different times and for different reasons. For a US company hiring in multiple parts of Canada, this means you cannot plug in the Canadian minimum wage and be done. You have to look at where each employee actually works and match pay to that specific jurisdiction. Provincial control and regular increases. Because provinces control minimum wage, they can adjust it to reflect local politics, cost of living, and economic priorities. Some provinces index increases to inflation, others make periodic jumps after policy reviews. As a foreign employer, what this really means is that minimum wage in your Canadian locations will move on different schedules. One province might bump rates in April, another in October. If you are not tracking those changes, you can wake up one day paying less than the legal minimum in a specific province without realizing it. Remote work and location of employment. Remote work adds another twist. If your Canadian employee works from home, the relevant minimum wage is usually the one in the province where that home is located, not the province where your company happens to be registered. So a remote employee in Alberta and another in Nova Scotia may have different minimum wage floors, even if they have the same job title and report to the same manager in the United States. That can feel strange if you are used to a single national floor, but it is how the Canadian system actually works. Different rules for special categories. Some provinces have special minimum wage categories for certain workers, such as liquor servers, students, farm workers, or live-in caregivers. Over time, many of these special categories have been narrowed or eliminated, but they still exist in places. For a US employer, this matters mainly if you operate in hospitality, agriculture, or other sectors that rely on those roles. You cannot assume that one rate applies to every person on the team, even within a single province. You need to know whether your positions fall under any special rules. Salary, hourly pay, and equivalent calculations. Minimum wage is stated as an hourly rate, but many foreign employers pay Canadian staff on a salary. In that case, you have to reverse engineer whether the salary actually meets minimum wage requirements once you divide by expected hours. If a salaried employee regularly works long weeks, you may find that their effective hourly rate dips below the provincial minimum. That is not just a numbers quirk, it is a compliance problem. For roles near the bottom of your pay structure, doing this math explicitly is important. Handling cross-provincial teams. If you have a team spread across several provinces doing similar work, you have two options. You can pay people according to local minimums, which means some employees earn slightly more than others for the same role, or you can adopt a higher internal floor that meets or exceeds the highest relevant provincial minimum. The second option is simpler to administer and easier to explain to staff, but slightly more expensive. Many US companies eventually choose the higher uniform floor approach just to keep things clean and avoid constant recalculation. Impact on overtime and other entitlements. Minimum wage differences do not sit in isolation. Overtime and holiday pay often use the employee's regular rate as a starting point. If you misset the base rate in a province with a higher minimum, you are not only underpaying regular hours, you are also underpaying overtime and certain premiums. That compounds liability over time. So minimum wage is really the first tile in a chain. Get it wrong, and several other tiles fall with it. Documenting compliance in offers and policies. Your offer letters and pay policies should reflect that pay meets or exceeds the minimum wage in the province where the employee works. You do not necessarily have to name the provincial rate in every contract, but you should be able to show, if questioned, that you checked the applicable law and set pay accordingly. Internally, someone on your HR or finance team should own a simple table of current provincial minimums and review it whenever increases are announced. What happens if you fall below the minimum? If you accidentally pay less than minimum wage in a province, you can be required to make back payments, and you may face penalties or interest depending on the circumstances. Employees can also bring complaints under employment standards processes. For a foreign employer, this is not just about money, it is about credibility. When you are new to a market, being known as the company that underpays the legal minimum is not where you want to start. Final thoughts. Yes, Canadian provinces have different minimum wages, and those differences matter. They shape what you must pay by law, how you think about salaries versus hourly pay, and how you design compensation for cross-provincial teams. If you treat Canada as a single pay rate country, you will eventually underpay someone somewhere. If you treat provincial minimums as a baseline you have to clear, you can design simple, predictable pay structures that work across the map. If you want straightforward summaries of current minimum wage patterns and how to build them into your cross-border hiring strategy, you can explore more resources at www.theaccountingandtax.com. If you require assistance with Canadian tax matters, our team is ready to provide reliable professional support. Please contact us at 416-283-8774 or visit theaccountingandtax.com for more information. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.